Okay, here we are again. Welcome back, everybody. This is the We Quit Booze Brothers, which is a podcast where we try to have honest, no fluff conversations about our various experiences of quitting alcohol. And with me, as always, is my brother Matt. Hello, Matt.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, hello again. We are back. And before anyone asks, no, we don't phone each other to coordinate with blue tops. It just happened to be
That
that
was my
way.
joke. I was going to do that one. I was
Oh, were
going to do
you?
that joke. Yeah.
Stole it
Yeah.
from him. I'd spotted it when we started speaking, but there you go. So no, we are the boys in blue today, which I think is don't they call the police or something like that.
The
But
boys in
anyway,
blue.
we're going totally off topic. But it's great to be back. We hope you enjoyed the last video. Please remember to give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't listened to us before and you like what you hear. Please subscribe. We do this for your benefit, our benefit, and really that's why we're here. So yeah, anything you can do to help this channel is great.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, in fact, one of our listeners left a note just the other day, which I haven't responded to yet, but I will do. It was really a lovely note. He was just saying, oh, you're nearly at 1,000 subscribers, which is not very much really, but and just he sort of mentioned that he does a lot to try to promote this. But just so we can, I mean, we this is our way of giving something back. I think one of the things that you sort of learn as you get older and you go through this journey, and I think particularly through sobriety, sometimes he sort of teaches you to try to live the best sort of version of yourself. I think one of the things is if you can try and sort of contribute. So that's why we do this. It's a very small thing. Look, it's not entirely altruistic because it also, I think, really helps Matt and I. It's useful to have a conversation on a pretty regular basis just to sort of remind yourself why you made this decision and what all the benefits are. But yeah, we do it to help. And actually, what I love about this channel is the sort of community feel of it. And I feel like we get a lot of our good ideas and we get a lot of the subject matter from the feedback because all of you are as expert in this as we are. We're not experts. We're just two very ordinary blokes who have done it and felt like we wanted to talk about it. So anyway, so there you go. So enough waffle from me. Well, it won't be enough waffle from me because that's
There's
all
more
I
to
ever
come.
do. There is plenty more. Yeah, there's plenty more to come. So this is a topic actually, which is an interesting one, and it was one that. So it sort of occurred to me, fun enough, when we did our last podcast. The last podcast we talked about why is it so difficult to quit alcohol, and when I was thinking about preparing for that subject, it made me think back to all the reasons why did I drink, and I remember thinking to myself, yeah, why did I drink? Like, what was it that uh, made me do it in the first place? Because I'm at the point now with alcohol. I think when I see people drinking, particularly if I see people drinking quite a lot, I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? It's a bit like, I don't know if you, certainly in the UK they have this. Like in the UK, and it's always worse in the winter. Like you'll be driving along somewhere and there'll be an office block and it'll be pissing down. Like it'll be cold, wet, miserable and raining. And you'll see two or three people outside shivering, smoking cigarettes. And I look at that and I think, what on earth are you doing? Like you must be freezing. That must be miserable. And what you're doing has zero gain for you. There is literally no. This is really harmful, and I'm starting to feel the same way about alcohol. And so I think, well, why did I drink? What were the reasons? What were the sort of and I felt like that was an interesting conversation kind of in and of itself. And when I was thinking about this one, I think that I can almost remember the night that heavy drinking crept into my world. And it was years and years and years ago when I first started work and I got my first proper job, a first sort of serious job. And I'm guessing that I would have been around the age of about 22, 23. Weirdly, I didn't really drink much in my teens or my lower 20s. I just didn't see the point. And in fact, it annoyed me when people drank. I just didn't do it much. But when I got a proper job and I started to gain responsibility. I remember, I think I had a mortgage at that stage. I'd bought my first apartment. Life started to become a little bit more serious, and deadlines crept in, and responsibility and being a grown-up suddenly became something that I had to start thinking about. And I remember one night, and it was a Tuesday, I remember it weirdly clearly that it was a Tuesday night. A few of us went out for a beer after work. I was like, yeah, okay, wouldn't normally do that, but fine. And we went and had a couple of pints in the pub round the corner. And I was thinking, okay, well, we've had 2 pints, that'll be that. I'll go now because it's a work day. It's a school night, it's a work day tomorrow. Let's go home. And someone said, oh, fuck it, should we have another one? Who fancies another one? And I don't think it happened consciously, but subconsciously, I think somewhere in my brain, I suddenly went, I've just been exposed to something that adults are able to do, can sort of live irresponsibly every now and again, and it's perfectly fine. In my head, I think at that moment I was thinking about, I've got to get up for work tomorrow. It's a work day, and then somebody suggested that, and I was thinking, yeah, I'm a grown up. No one can stop me. If I want another pint of beer, I can have one. Anyway, long story short, we drank a load that night, and of course, ended up going home. Woke up the next day with a massive hangover, and the group that had been out, we all met in the morning, and we were all laughing. Oh God, I feel terrible. I feel awful. Yeah, and there was camaraderie, and it was almost like a light bulb went off in my head. At the time, I don't think I knew consciously that it had happened, but I suddenly realised that, yeah, there is pressure, there is stress being an adult. Suddenly shit does get real, but if you want, you can just check out every now and again. You can just go and get hammered. And I think that sowed the sort of seed that in many ways, it evolved over a number of years, and then suddenly you'd go out more often. And the reasons I think I drank were, at the time, I think I thought it was how I had a good time. That was the first one. How I socialised. It was I attached. I think in that moment my brain suddenly went, "You can do this. You're a grown up. No one's going to tell you off. No one's going." In fact, if anything, culturally, the big nights out are. We used to have this phrase. It was called, what was it? You can stay out with the boys as long as you get up with the men. It was a bit wanky, but it was like, basically what they're saying is, yeah, go out all night if you want, but make sure you're up and make sure you're at the, never mind how hungover you were. And I was in a sort of sales environment. It was that kind of world, I suppose. One of my very good friends, I remember, had this sort of strategy for drinking during the week, where he would often say to me, he said, Wednesdays is a really good night to go out and get hammered. He said, because you can get really hammered on a Wednesday. He said, you feel shit Thursday, but you feel fine by Friday, and then it's the weekend. So you can just cut the week down by about, pretty much cut the week in half if you do it. So I think I suddenly started to lean into this, like, yeah, that's what you do. Yeah, this is great. I'm going to do that. As I got older, as years went by, I got more responsibilities, got married, had children, started my own company. I think I also, at that stage, started to drink for a bit of escape. I can also remember vividly feeling very, very stressed and very pressured during the week, and having a thought that it doesn't matter, come Friday, there's a bottle of Chardonnay with my name on it. This all goes away. All this stress, all this worry, this all goes away with the drink, and I can do it to relax. The irony, of course, is now that I have stopped, now that I look back at that, now that I look back at the chaos that ensued, the out of control nature, there are just two things that I want to say, and I'll stop there and we'll kind of come back to it. But the first one is the having a good time and the socialising. I thought that's what that was. But the reality was, when I drank, and this podcast is based on our experience, okay? So this might not be true for everybody, but certainly when I drank, I became the most selfish person on planet Earth. I didn't care about anybody else, really. Maybe that's a bit harsh. I mean, I didn't become a bastard, but all I was interested in was me getting drunk, me being funny, me talking, me. I don't know that I was that interested in. And of course, no more is that more apparent than when you wake up the next day and you can't even remember what you said, or you can't even remember, or worse, you're worried about what you said. So the myth of it was, I thought it was how I socialised. I thought it was how I, formed relationships. What I actually meant was it's how I just was completely selfish and living in my own world and, you know, being about as antisocial as I possibly could have been. And the whole relax and escape thing, as again, was probably the biggest myth for me, because yes, in that moment it damped out the noise. It all went away. But as we've said so many times on this, the thing that I did to reduce anxiety, stress, and to relax is the very thing that fueled my anxiety and my stress. You know, it came back at me with interest the next day, or you know, and as time went on, that got worse and worse. My point is that look, it would be trite to say there's, you know, all the reasons for drinking. You're just in it. You know, it is addictive. You do get addicted to it. So there are some times when I think there were maybe times that it were enjoyable, where it was fun, but they're tiny in comparison to all the other shit that goes with it. And I just think when you really step back, and I've got 10 years of, you know, I've got 10 years of distance between me and the person that drank. When I really step back, I think these are all just myths. They're myths that we create that keep us drinking. So I better stop there, because I've been going for about an hour. Yeah, so I'll hand over to you and we'll come back. But there's my opening monologue.
I think it was great. It's like so often in this podcast, I prepare some, just get my thoughts in, check, let me see what I want to cover, what's interesting, what's not, etc. And then you come along, start talking, and it's like, no, I'm not going to go with my notes. I'm going to talk about something completely different. But let's start with your repeated use of the word responsibility. Let me remind you, young man, that you were the person who gave me 2 very large shots of schnapps when I was about 8 years old. But there we go. That's another story entirely. It was actually very funny. No, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's ooh, I can't really put a sort of pin the tail on the donkey, if you like, for when I made that sort of, you know, it's a slow burner. You know, alcohol problems are a slow burner. I think a lot of it stems back from the fact that the 80s, 90s, early 2000s certainly were a very big, it was a lad era. It was cool. You got a badge of honor. When you mentioned about turning up to work the next day with a hangover, it was almost like, you know, slap on the back. You know, I think you've all seen Wolf of Wall Street and the antics that went on there. You know, that was a real, maybe not to the extent, you know, where we were working, but it really was a culture fueled by, you had to be in it, you know, to be part of this great thing as it was sold to us. So it is a slow burner, and I think, like so many things, it creeps up on you, and it certainly crept up on me. And then alcohol became, well, not necessarily a daily part of life, but it came pretty much to that point. And the problem with me was I had no off switch. So, you know, I've always said, I opened a bottle of wine, I would finish it. There was no doubt about that. Whether it be Monday, Tuesday, whenever day of the week, didn't matter. I was never really a day drinker, but that's because my wife sort of kept me in check a little, and I never really saw the point in day drinking necessarily, because you drink at lunchtime and then you just feel tired and hungover. So it really was an evening thing for me. But I think here's some of the myths. I think if I think about the myths of alcohol and the sort of bullshit that it you know spreads, is, you know, I actually at one point, I think I believed it was good for me. I think I believed genuinely that drinking red wine was not bad for me. It was probably fine. The other absolute total, I think I refer to it in my book. I'm going to plug it now. Man Gets Sober, available on Amazon. Check it out. Hope you like it. I actually believed that by drinking expensive, or more expensive, should I say, red wine, that it would be fine. You know, that I refer to it as a sort of connoisseur bellend. You know, I believed that I had some sort of understanding of wine, and that by buying a bottle of, I don't know, Chablis or whatever it might be, or an expensive Montagny, or, you know, that somehow that's better for me. That's bullshit. We know that now. It's alcohol. It's Either it's the same thing whether you drink 50p lager or whether you drink €200 bottle of wine. I also believe, like crazily, that if I drank kind of water before I went to bed, probably eliminate any problems of the wine or the alcohol that I was having on me. So just those sort of myths, I think hopefully it'll resonate with you folks out there, because we lead ourselves to believe this bullshit, and also we believe what other people tell us. And that's one of the really, really tough things about giving up alcohol, is when you are drinking alcohol, you will lean towards those people who will tell you whatever you want to hear to keep you drinking. And it's part of a reality, because some people will be disappointed in some ways that you've quit. I'm going to be honest, when Mark quit, I was disappointed. I was like, my brother doesn't drink anymore. This is not, what the fuck is this all about? I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. And it took a few years for me to suddenly see, or not suddenly see actually, to see over that period of time that, my God, his life is really, he seems like a new person, someone who's found this love and zest for life, and it's not fake, and it's real, and it's something anybody can have. And a big drive before I gave up. I did have a rock bottom moment. I was in a bad way, but don't think that it was something that happened suddenly. There was a long build up to this. I'd been looking at videos. I'd been thinking about my brother. I'd been, basically trying to sort of get in my mind, well, what would my life look like without it? And I think the final sort of thing I just wanted to touch on, and I'm jumping around here as we often do on this podcast, but I really, really believed that you needed alcohol to have fun. I believed it was an adult ticket to fun. It was the minute that bottle opened, and even in the week, that was my, like you said, it was my escape from reality. It was my get home, get the kids to bed, or during getting the kids to bed, crack open that bottle of wine and take me to that place where I don't have to think about anything else. And sadly, that is the case for a lot of people. But you can go to that place doing lots of other things, and it just takes that belief and hopefully listening to people like us to see that there is another way.
I think that's the point of this conversation, really. I mean, like I said, I think sometimes these sober channels are guilty of sort of overplaying the sort of ease and simplicity of this subject. It's not simple, it's layered, and of course it's nuanced. And if it wasn't, then there wouldn't be any alcoholics, there wouldn't be anybody with drink problems, because it would just be an easy one to fix, which we know it isn't. But what I would just call on anybody who's thinking about this is to really, really try to sort of examine pragmatically the reasons they think they drink, and actually look behind the curtain of that. One of the things we've broken down in other podcasts, when I look back on it, when I drank, I probably had about 30 minutes to 40 minutes of really enjoyable drinking. That sort of early stage, I'm getting a bit of a buzz, I'm enjoying this is really pleasant, this is nice. But then for me, within about 20 minutes, I was on to probably the third or the fourth, and I was already drinking too much at that stage. And ironically, one of the things I used to do when I was out is pretend I wasn't as drunk as I was. So the very thing that I was out to do, the very thing that I'd attached so much value and importance upon, was the very thing that I was pretending I wasn't doing. It was a weird one. Like I would pretend to myself that I wasn't as hammered, and suddenly the mind games fire up. And your point about enjoying life after I quit, you're right. I mean, I just went through this. Suddenly I realised that I traded that half an hour to 40 minutes of enjoyment 3 or 4 times a week to the potential to enjoy life from the minute you wake up to the moment you go to bed. That there was joy and enjoyment in so many things. And I don't want to get too bloody deep and meaningful at this stage, but I was thinking about Matt and I you know, we had there was a death in our family just recently. It was you know, sometimes I think you think about life's meaning a little bit more in those moments, and I do think that one of the things which I've come to realise over time is that it is the simple things in life that really matter. You know, it's not the big things. It's the moments. You know, it's the simple moments. It's a cup of coffee on a lovely morning. It's you know, it's your child reaching up to hold your hand as you cross the road. You know, it's that feeling of connection. You know, it's an early morning walk. I went to London on Friday. I had a meeting at 9 o'clock, and I decided to go in early. And just it was a lovely morning, and it was fresh. And I don't know, you know, I found a lovely coffee shop in Farringdon, and I don't know, there was just so much. And the point is that what I'm talking about is pleasure that starts the moment you wake up. If I was still drinking, I would have been drinking on Thursday night. I wouldn't have been up early. I wouldn't have experienced the lovely morning. And I would be thinking I'm having the best life ever because I was out drinking last night. And so I just, really the point of this is it's a call to examine what I think are the many, many myths that exist around why we drink. So anyway, I better stop there because we've been going a long time. Yeah, I'll stop there. Like I said, so much to talk about, but let's leave it there. Is there anything else from you, Matt, or do
No,
we think we
I
can?
think not. No, we you know, try and keep these to around 20 minutes. I think we've done all right today. But any comments? Anything? You know, what are your sort of myths of alcohol? What are the things that you found caught you out over the time? What was it that made you maybe start drinking in the way you did? You know, making that sort of slow transition from, you know, when we were young, going out maybe once a month to it becoming a bit of a problem. But yeah, anything you want us to cover as well, you know, we do take your suggestions. We love them. So yeah, let us know. Keep the comments coming. We really appreciate it. And I think we're done.
All right. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Matt. So lovely. Like Matt says, thanks ever so much. We'll leave it there. Until the next time, as I always say, never quit quitting. It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
Till the next time. Cheers.
Bye-bye.